Alright, so this is the pond that we put in last spring. And over the summer it got all nasty with algae. We didn't have any biological filtration. And so this year we're going to do a do-it-yourself project, and we're going to put a filter in. Instead of spending $400 or $500 on a filter, we're going to do a do-it-yourself one with some buckets, or a bucket, and a bunch of hoses and some plumbing parts. And we'll see how if that works this year for the fish. Alright, so here's essentially all the stuff we're going to be using to make the do-it-yourself filter. The most important thing, I think, first of all, would be this bucket. This is a square bucket, and you have to use a square bucket because when you put these bulkhead pieces on to put the water through, if it's rounded, it's not going to be able to go through the bucket very well. It's going to be very leaky. So you need a square bucket with a lid. It doesn't have to be a watertight lid. If you do have a watertight lid, you're pretty much building a canister filter for an aquarium. Besides that, you need some hose, you need a power head, you need some hose. We're using a thicker hose for the output of the filter. For the bottom of our filter, we're going to use a basket with some holes in it. We're probably going to cut this probably right here so it's not so high sitting up in the bottom of the filter. You're going to need some regular scrub pads. These you can get at the dollar store really cheap. They come in a brick of 15 like this. You're going to also need some of these round scrub pads. They're more, the holes in them are bigger. Stuff will get trapped in there and get all broken down. We've got a bunch of plumbing pieces here. You've got some elbows and a T, plus you've got some adapters that are going to screw into our bulkheads to make a watertight connection. On the bigger bulkhead for the bigger hose, we've got some bigger pieces, a threaded piece, and then a hose connector to go to our black hose here. So essentially what we're going to do is we're going to have a filter that goes into this box here. We've also got a long piece of PVC pipe here, which is going to be our internal innards of our filter once we cut it down. So basically how it's going to look, you're going to have the basket going into the bottom of the filter like this. We're going to have on top of the basket, we're going to pour in several of these bigger filter sponge pads, and we're going to have a whole bunch of them here we're going to put in. And then on top of that, we are going to put these scrub pads all along here so that the water comes through here, the bigger bits will get trapped into these pads, the smaller bits will come into these will get filtered and out. So essentially we're going to put the bulkheads. Now these bulkheads, you find them at plumbing stores, but they don't seem to be in the plumbing aisle. You have to ask for them for some reason. And we're basically going to attach the bulkheads to the side of the bucket here. They both will be fairly high. We'll put one through this side. This is the output bulkhead, and the internal bulkhead will go on the other side to bring the water in. What we're going to do is we're going to cut a piece of this PVC pipe, and we're going to basically come into the filter here, going down, coming out the bottom of the bucket. Water will come up, flow out through it. Alright. Okay, so for tools, what we're going to need is we're going to need some bits to cut holes into our bucket. We're going to need a drill to attach the bits, and we're going to need a saw, a hacksaw. We're just using just a bow saw to cut this PVC pipe, and a can of the PVC cement to connect the PVC together. So those are the tools basically we're going to need to build this. Okay, so I've attached a 1.5 inch bit onto my drill, and we're going to be drilling a hole through the top of my bucket on this side here, and also on the other side here. One area for the water to go in and one area for the water to go out. Okay, so we've got our holes in our bucket. We've got two of them. We've got one in here and one on the other side. The bulkheads, they just come apart, and there's a rubber seal that you need to put on the inside of the bucket, and we'll demonstrate that in a second as well. Alright, so the bulkhead has a rubber piece on it, and we're going to put the rubber piece through this way. So the rubber piece is there. The outer side has a washer and a nut. We're going to thread these on and screw them tight to make it watertight, and we're going to do the same on the other side as well. Okay, so we've got our watertight bulkheads on. To the output of the filter, we're going to screw on a connector here, and then a hose connector, and this will allow us to connect our big black hose to the filter and into the pond over the waterfall portion. So the black hose that I have is just going to attach to the end of here. On the other side, we're going to attach a smaller connector to go a PVC connector, and the same on the other side as well. We're going to connect a PVC connector. So now we're basically going to make the internal workings of the filter, and this involves cutting the PVC pipe. We're going to have a bit come out. We're going to use an elbow to go down to the bottom of the filter. On the very bottom we're going to have a T. The T is going to spread out left and right, and then we're going to have these at the end as well, and that will basically create a circular flow of water going around the filter, up and then out of this part here. So we'll construct that. Okay, so I've gone ahead and I've dry fitted all of my filter components together. I cut a little piece of PVC pipe on this side here. This is going to be attached to my input tank hose. It's going to come in through here. It comes out, goes down the elbow, down into the bucket. You can see it tees off at the end, and then the water flow will create a circular clockwise motion. What we're going to do next is we're going to put the basket down there. This is going to prevent the debris from getting too close to the output of the internal filter and causing clogs. So we're going to make sure that we keep all of the little sponges away from the actual outputs so that nothing can get clogged, and it'll be all free flowing. So we're going to cut that down. Okay, so here's my blue bucket that I've cut down. I've also cut a hole and a slit through it. I've also glued up all of my connecting pieces, and the only one I haven't glued is this one here. I'm probably not going to glue this one. It does fit on pretty snug, and it'll make taking it apart easier. Threading this could be fun. Anyway, so I'm going to leave this off. Notice as well that the bottom, there's about an inch of room here. This is going to fill up with sand and other crud that won't get dissolved by the biological filter. So you don't want to have your outputs right against the bottom. You want to have about an inch around. So with the basket, you just slip the basket over the top, and now as I put this in, you can see that it sits in quite nicely. I push the thing all the way. So now I've got my protection from the inside. I'll throw in my little these guys, and then I'll open up some more and toss those in as well. Okay, so I've stuck 4 packages of 6, which is 24 of them in there. I've got 4 packages of these. I'm going to basically just pack these around, and I'm going to pack these pretty tight so that the water has to go through the filter material. So I'm going to open up the rest of these packages and put them in as well. Okay, so I used about 4 packages of the sponges here, and I've packed the container pretty much solid. I've cut some of them out to fit. I've wedged some in here to make them fit as well. So basically the water will come in through the underground, the pump through the hose into here, go down, swirl around in the bottom of it, go through those initial scrub pads which have the big holes to collect the big degree, come up to the top, filter through the pads here, and then out to the nozzle at the top. You can also add, if you wanted, some activated carbon in a media bag. You could put that right on top, or you could put it in the middle. It wouldn't matter. And if you have your fish in the house over winter with a filter there, you can take the media that you have in that filter, add it to the bottom of this or the middle, and when you hook it up, it'll be your seed to start this biological process. So essentially, you would put the lid on, snap it nice and tight. This isn't a completely airtight seal. It's not bad. That's why I made this hose a little bigger, so that water shouldn't get to the top and squirt out the sides. It should just flow straight through. On my pond down underneath the deck, what I'm going to do is, this will be higher than the waterfall, so there should never be water above here. I'm not going to have it pumping up like this. If you do that, the whole container will fill, and water could leak out the sides if this isn't an airtight container, which it's not. It's not bad, but it's going to have some leaks. So you want to make sure that you have all this above your waterfall, and that way it just filters through and it never actually overflows. Anyways, so there you have it. Do-it-yourself filter, pond filter. I'll film again in a little while once I get it hooked up and running, and we'll see if it works.